And welcome back. We are now going to work with multiple images. We, of course, last time worked primarily with one, but now we have multiple in here. We have this magic hat and we have this rabbit that we can go ahead and work with. Go ahead and import these into your canvas if you haven't done so already. And I've set mine up to be a 30-second animation. So you can see I have not 30 seconds, but 30 frames. So it's one whole second of animation. So it's going to be a pretty quick animation here when we make this rabbit sort of appear. And what we want to do is create our mask layer, so it's going to hide this rabbit and then he's going to appear as the animation plays. So to get started, let's go ahead and make our mask layer. Remember, your mask layer is always going to be above whatever layer is you want to hide. So for example, because I have my rabbit layer here on the top, I would create my mask layer over top of it. So just mask underscore layer. However, if that rabbit was, let's say, underneath the magic hat, I'd want to make sure that that mask layer follows it and is, again, above that rabbit layer, because otherwise it's going to mask whatever layer is currently below it. So you got to make sure those two layers are kind of in the same spot here. So let's get started by creating our mask. And I'm just going to use the rectangle tool here to go ahead and just draw in the start of that rectangle. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw this in here. And of course, you may not be able to see it as well because, again, it's behind this hat layer. But I can grab my free transformation tool to click on this mask layer right here, and you can see where it currently exists. All right, so it's right here, and I just want to make sure that's kind of about wide enough for me to get started. And I'm just going to go ahead and create a classic tween here. And of course, it's going to say convert to a symbol, and that's perfectly okay. And let's go ahead and then move out a couple frames. So let's go, for example, to the 10th frame here. And again, grabbing that mask layer, we can then adjust this as we need to stretch this out to whatever dimensions we need it to be. All right, might have a little bit of trouble clicking on those. If that happens, you can always lock the other layers there to help you not grab the layer that you are trying to move. So for example, I can lock the rabbit, and now I can grab that layer. All right, and you can see when I moved it, you can see that it made a new keyframe for me, which is perfectly fine. So I'm just going to grab this and pull it up just a little bit so that way it's now covering, for example, the rabbit's feet. And then we can go to frame 20. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make sure I can grab this mask layer here. And I want to do the same thing as I did before. I want to take this layer and I want to adjust it up so that way it's going to cover maybe up to the rabbit's mouth. And the reason why I'm doing that is because, again, I want to make sure that this shape is stretching and growing in such a way that it gives me a little more control. I could just, of course, make that from start to end and just choose the final destination of where I want that shape to end up. But again, I want to be able to have that control so that way I can come in here and adjust this to however I want. So maybe I want to speed up or slow down, but again, it's going to give me a little bit more control. Now, of course, that these keyframes are all set, let's go ahead and mask. So right click and mask. And if we rewind this, you can watch as this animation slowly plays. You can see that the rabbit will then appear. So if I just press my play button, you can see there is the rabbit and as he appears out of the hat. So it's a pretty quick and simple animation that we did. Obviously, there is a lot more that you can do with here. You can really get into some really fine control here. So instead of maybe 10 frames, you maybe do every 5. You can add in different effects and stuff like that as you go along, but this is a nice, good transition building off of what we did last time with our images and just allowing us to use the different tweens to create more different effects.